Hi, welcome back to Spring CS170. We're going to be covering Chapter 4. I'm going into escape characters and lists. Before I do that, just to remind everyone, so here's my page. Here's the breakout of the different recordings and resources. You can see for week 4, February 8th. Some of the stuff I'm starting to put in there. So the last video I recorded for HTML styling, CSS, that's here. This week's resource is here. You can get into it also from modules. I also posted up like the sample HTML that I use to go through with the styling. You can click on it just to see it here. If you want to actually edit it or get a local copy for yourself, you can go into my folder, which is up here, and click on that and you'll be able to download the sample HTML. Okay, so go ahead and try all of that and let me know if there's any issues. Hopefully you get comfortable with working with HTML files on your computer, editing it, viewing it in your browser. Those are the kind of things you need to kind of be able to do if you want to do the assignments and whatnot. Okay, and then the other thing I want to just point out, I'm providing you with the sample HTML files, and you can use it for your resources in studying for the exam or just examples so that you can look at it and apply it to solving questions on the exam. But I do want to caution you because we had students get in a lot of trouble for the last semester. Like I said, when you do everything online, there's a number of tools that can be used to identify suspicious behavior. Number one, everybody is storing their stuff electronically, so it's fairly straightforward to do a comparison across all of the submissions to look for any exact matches and whatnot. The other thing that you can look at, there's actual detailed um, audit trail for everything that you type in. So if you were to do a copy and paste of some code into the exam response area, that will also be picked up. So please don't do that because I'm telling you, those type of things are being monitored and it is being enforced. Um, I can't really say how many students were impacted for last semester for doing stuff like that, but I can just tell you it is applied. It does go into your academic record. So really, it's unnecessary, right? Because I don't think it's that hard for you to just take whatever it is from the open book, type in your example, make whatever changes, and just do the right thing, right? So you don't want to get caught up in something that gives the view that you may be cheating off of someone else. Okay, so with that, let's just get down to it. Okay, so we left off at escape characters. Let me see if I can make this bigger. So escape characters is basically, there's like these things here, right? You recognize some of these things. They're basically things that can be confusing to the browser because they're kind of like keywords or key characters. For example, things like this for your tag, right? And I'm going to show you an example of that, right? Let me get this up here. I actually have a new HTML which I will be uploading after this lecture. Um, and I'm going to kill two birds with one stone on this one here. So yeah, I just kind of list it, right? So here's less than, and then here's like the escape for it, right? So you can see that here. You can see less than here. And then let's see what the browser looks like for that, which happens to others have stuff on here too. But so look, you can see up here, it shows the less than, okay? And you can try this out on your own browser when you put in this HTML. You can see it will show the less than sign, not this, like the ampersand LT, right? Because it knows to interpret that. That's what it means by having the escape characters. It will show this. Right now, what does this mean, right? Actually, I should zoom on this here. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, um, so I just put two side by side. Number one, I did it in a table format. You can see up here, I just kind of monkeyed around. I kind of did this, this, and this, and I did like this breaks in between. I got something like this. But you can see I organized it a little bit by putting it into this table here. Okay, so it's like this. And I put two side by side. So up here, let's say for the sake of argument, you wanted to show this because you're doing some documentation on HTML tags or something like that, right? So I want to actually show the less than sign, the forward slash, the LI, and the greater than sign, right? That's what I'm showing here, but I'm doing with the escape characters, right? But look, I did the same exact thing down here, but now I said less than, and I actually put in the less than slash LI and greater than sign. Unfortunately, um, well, that's going to confuse the browser because the browser sees this also, right? It looks like the same thing. It doesn't know that you actually want to print that value out, not to actually use it to close out your tag here, right? That's why I put these two side by side to give you an example of how the browser gets confused. So by doing that, you can see what happened. Here, on the second part here, nothing shows up, right? Because it thinks it's a tag. It thinks it's here and it's closing it out. So up here, because I used the escape character, you can see I actually displayed the less than, the forward slash, the li, and the greater than sign because I used this escape characters to represent these and the browser doesn't get confused. So that's what the escape characters are used for. Honestly, you probably don't use it that much because chances are you're probably not going to do stuff that conflicts with this. Most of the time, you'll be doing stuff that shouldn't have any issue, but you never know. Some of the other escape characters, like with the quotes, the double quotes, and whatnot, um, you can get in some trouble depending on what you're writing. So you could probably get away with a lot of these things just putting in that character and the browser won't get confused. But just to play it safe, just use the escape characters. Okay? So that's the whole purpose of these escape characters. As it says up here, reserved characters in HTML. Okay? So like I said, you could put these in here and you might be able to get away with it depending on what you're doing. But why bother, right? Just use this instead. So anytime you want to use the less than sign, you want to actually show it on your page, then just use the ampersand LT. Okay? So just a suggestion. Okay? And so that's what the escape characters are for. Okay? Um, so here for this video, I'm going to cover the different variations of lists, and then I'll cut a new video for the rest of the other chapter 4 stuff. So lists, what are lists? Uh, let me show you my example here. Let me scroll down a bit. It could be anything, right? So these are the different types of lists. You have lists like this where you don't have to have a number, you just have these little bullets here. And then you have the other type of list where you actually have a number next to it. Okay, and then you can mix and match, right? So in this case, we put like one. This outside part is, an ordered list, and then this inside part here is an ordered list, right? Because it has these numbers here. Okay, and then you have this kind here where it basically takes this, and then you have an indentation, and you have this. Okay, so those are the three different types of lists. I'm going to hit this on the PowerPoint. Like I said, I've obviously implemented this on HTML, which I'll also save a copy of. You guys should play around with it, make up your own list, and see if that works for you. Okay? And similar to other types of things, you can put some styling on it. Obviously, you can change the font size and make it bold, and all the typical stuff you do with HTML, right? But right now, for this part, we're just going to cover the list part. You can play around with the other styling part on your own. Okay. So how do you create a list, right? So in this case, we're just going to create the list with no numbers, which is basically a UL, right? See UL, and again, I'm having it here as an example, right? You have the UL, and then each element, right? I shouldn't, the element's not a good word here. So each item within the list, um, you list it with li, right? So the overall thing for the overall list, you put the ul, and then for each line you would use a li, right? So li, and then put on all these, and then you'll get something like that. Okay. I don't know if this is the easiest type of list, but it's an unordered list. Okay. Right. So you have the ul and then li. That's the main thing you want to kind of remember. Once you do that, this is your output, what you get here. All right. So OL is ordered list, right? So it's basically the same as this, right? Except it's just the OL, right? You see the OL here? The inside is still LI, okay? And then the only thing you hear is you see 1, 2, 3, okay? And then the list tags, you can like mix and match them, right? So that's what this is saying here, right? And I put this into the my file, which I'll put up there in a second, okay? Uh, so it's basically nesting the list, right? So the outside is the UL, right? But then inside you have the LI element, right? LI, right? So that's each of the individual items. In this case, uh, pretend you didn't have this, right? Let's say you didn't have this and this. Then basically you would have a list that just says New York and Philadelphia, right? So it's the same, it's still holding to the same thing as up here, right? Where you're on the outside, you have either a UL or a OL, and then each of the elements, I keep on saying elements, or each of the items is what you're going to display line item by line item, okay? Same thing here, right? So you see the UL here, and then you see LI and LI, but within that, you essentially nested another list within it, right? And you can see what they did here. You have the OL here. This is another list, ordered list, right? And then another LI, right? And then you see that here, Giants and Jets, right? Now, could I have another list within that? Yes, I could, right? You can keep on nesting however much until it gets like ridiculous, right? But you can keep on nesting within it. So that's what this example is showing here. So, but it's still the same general format. And just like I said before, within these, everything you can do with normal HTML. This is HTML. You can do the coloring, you can do the font size, you know, whatever, right? Same thing. And yeah, so here's the unordered list. So I mean the ordered list, I should say, ordered list here, and then yeah, you only have one team in Philadelphia, so you have the Eagles, and you show that as unordered list. You know, the interesting thing is that it kind of automatically knows that it's part of a list, so it knows to kind of differentiate a little bit. You see this is a dark bullet, and then this is like a little hollow bullet here, okay? Um, and then the last thing here is what is called a definitional list, right? And all that is to list the items and then just have this indentation, right? You can see that example here, and I've also implemented that here too, okay? Again, same thing. So just follow that format. So the outside is the DL, right, for definitional list slash definitional list. The only difference is instead of doing LI for each of these lines here, you're kind of having like this DT as, I guess, the first section, and then the DD as to uh, indent it and make a like a subtopic or a sub-description of whatever is in DT. Okay, so in this case, like Superman is DT, and then able to leap tall buildings is kind of like the subtopic underneath underneath Superman, right? And just visually, you can just see how that works out like this. Okay, so what we just covered here is lists, uh, the 3 different types. You check it out. You can do the nesting, um, and we had escape symbols. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up here, and then I'll pick up another lecture to cover tables and image, and hopefully that will finish up for chapter 4. Okay, thank you.